Let's do this. Hello, folks. I'm Jeremy Osterberger with BIC Magazine. I'm really jazzed to be joined by Kasey Otto, Senior Sales Manager for BHI Energy. Kasey's joining us from Southern California. Kasey, are you outside in the sun? What you doing over there?
I'm not, but I'm working on it this afternoon. It's actually a beautiful 76 degrees. Not bad for, November morning.
The next time we do this, we're doing it on the beach. All right. Thank you, Kasey, for joining us, man. Look, give us a little bit about your journey in the specialty industrial construction sector, and how'd you make it to BHI? What drew you to BHI?
Yeah, sure. So I guess real quick, Mike. So my name again, Kasey Otto, Senior Manager of Sales or Senior Sales Manager at BHI Energy. And for anyone who's not familiar with BHI, we are the leading specialty and automated welding company in the U.S. here. But I've been with BHI since 2012. I've led the business development effort for the western half of the United States in that time. So it's been a fun ride, right? We started annual revenue in the West region back 12 or so years ago. It was right around that $300,000 range. Had one little project under a belt. And since then, we've seen some pretty substantial growth, right? It took about 6 years to hit that 20 million mark. And then actually just wrapping up last year with just over 30 million revenue. And again, that's just my territory. We've seen similar growth, right, in other regions and international. But I guess I say all that just to highlight that it's been a fun ride. We kind of started from the beginning. We built this thing up, and we're we're good organization, good people. We're having a good time doing it. So.
That's great. Well, get into some more personal things, Kasey, in the sense of, what experience have shaped your approach to business development? I find that business development folks have different approaches. Tell me about your approach and how did you develop that way?
Yeah, I guess just simply, you're never going to win them all, right? So the best thing I can do is put my customer first, right? Align our priorities with theirs and give it 100%. I feel that, or what I found is that if you're sincere, you work hard, people are drawn to that, right? And I had a mentor once tell me the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I have to say that's definitely held true.
So, Kasey, what specific technologies or innovations does BHI Energy leverage to set itself apart from the market?
Yeah, sure. No, so I mean, there are a myriad of technology differentiators between BHI and our competition. I'd say one major differentiator is that 100% of the equipment that we utilize in the field is digitally controlled and governed by programmable logic. We've been told that other companies really emphasize those digital aspects of their equipment, and then ultimately only portions of the inventory are actually have that technology. So every piece of equipment that we utilize in the field is digitally controlled. It's governed again by that programmable logic, and so that is a differentiator for us to our competition. But more specifically regarding like technology advancements, I wanted to highlight our micro stepper motor, which is a critical piece of our automatic weld overlay system. And why it's so critical is because it controls bead overlap as each new weld bead is applied. So for weld metal overlay, this is extremely important because it impacts so many of the variables that affect the finished product. So that micro stepper motor and that bead overlap provides consistency in a bunch of different areas. But for example, deposit thickness, consistent fusion to the base metal, as welded chemistry, surface profile, which has a significant impact on the life of the repair. We're actually collaborating with Dr. Simon and Houston Engineering now on an effort to fully understand the importance of finished surface profile as it relates to the life cycle of structural weld overlay. So that's kind of a forthcoming development. And then lastly, consistent heat input, which of course, with any welding process, heat input is critical. But specifically with alternative weld method repair applications such as temper bead welding, that heat input is particularly important. One more, if I could, technology advantage that I want to highlight is the implementation of cloud-based data logger technology. So in recent years, if any of your audience has attended like a RevCom or Houston Engineering's Coke Drum Forum, you may have heard a presentation from BHI featuring the implementation of data logger technology. And that was on a specific large critical coke drum repair project. But the utilization of the data logger technology coupled with our detailed temper bead structural weld overlay specification provided the Alberta Boiler Safety Association, or ABSA, who is like the ASME for that province of Canada, provided them with the confidence they needed to extend the life of two coke drums in Alberta that would have otherwise been condemned. So as you can imagine, a pretty substantial impact would have, or our customer would have had a substantial impact to their throughput, their profit. And but basically, at the risk of oversimplifying, I'll explain the data loggers that they work by measuring the exact heat input of our welding system. So this measurement's taken every 6 seconds. It's uploaded into the cloud for anyone to see. The information is monitored real time by our quality team, and we can provide access to our customers so they can actually monitor it real time also. So I mean, pretty neat from just the application perspective, where we can see any one of our systems at any given time. We can see exactly what heat put they're in. Hey, maybe we're on the higher end of the lower range and we want to bring that down just a little bit. We can see real time and actually reach out to that technician and make those modifications in the field. And then further, if our customer really wants to take all that information, that every 6 seconds worth of heat input, we're going to give them the flash drive at the end and they can go through. So if they need to go through historic information, something along those lines, they have the ability to do that.
Casey, that comment on eliminating the need for large scale post weld heat treatment, that has to be get the attention of folks that are managing assets inside of refinery and petrochemical plants.
Yeah. I mean, so that is the one of the big benefits of tempered bead welding for sure. I mean, the idea is that you have a very deliberate, very controlled weld process where you're essentially heat treating the initial passive weld overlay with a second or subsequent passes, right? Gotcha. So by able to do that, you can do that in very targeted areas, and it has a number of quality and practical benefits. Like a immediate practical benefit would be like large scale post weld heat treat, right? It's expensive, it takes a long time, so you can be a lot more controlled and precise with a tempered bead approach.
And real quick, Casey, what are some other assets you can apply this technology to? You mentioned coke drums.
Well, we see coke drums a lot. I mean, it's really where, you're I mean, anything with a chrome-based material, right? In any material where heat treatment is going to be necessary. And for whatever reason, heat treatment is going to be a challenge, practically or otherwise, right? There are some quality conversations also where, there are advantages to tempered bead welding over post-weld heat treatment. So it just depends on the application, the process, right? You can get into the weeds on it, but it's very advantageous, and it's probably at least a third of the scopes that we're engaged on have that tempered bead element to it.
That's good. So let's get into some projects, Casey. Can you highlight any recent projects that showcase BHI Energy's capabilities?
Sure. So we had a unique project last year. 9 months of last year, BHI built a CO boiler from the ground up, at a refinery here in Southern California. So it's first of a kind for us, as we're typically like a 2 to 3 week niche, strike team, if you will. We come in and during turnarounds, we execute a quality critical niche welding scope in and out. This was a larger, longer term for more of a general contractor, not typical for a company like BHI. However, the site knew that they needed a company with high caliber craft, strong field leadership that would overcome the project's inherent challenges and deliver within the expedited time frame. The project originally started before COVID and was paused during the pandemic. Once the project picked back up, it was on an expedited timeline, and then ultimately the site needed to go with a company that they knew could deliver quality timeline and get it done in the timeline required.
Oh, that's really cool. Thanks for kind of describing that case study. Well, Casey, in your view, I mean, what are some of the more significant trends currently shaping really power gen and the industrial sectors? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, at least for industrial specifically, in the past few years, we've seen at least 4 large-scale conversions of traditional oil refineries to biofuels. Mm-hmm. Typically, the renewable fuel sites are very small. They're focused on very specific feedstock, whether that's tallow, et cetera. But the new technologies has made it possible to convert existing refinery units into renewable fuel sites that can leverage a broader range of feedstocks and ultimately, ultimately provide a broader range of finished products also. So the conversion of these units often require an upgrade in metallurgy, and that for the unit's fixed equipment, that's where BHI has been able to support. So three of the US's 4 largest conversion projects we've been engaged on in the last few years.
Gotcha.
Those two larger projects requiring in excess of 12,000 square feet of overlay and 9,000 square feet of overlay, respectively. So if you can picture that many square feet, it's a substantial. And then this was in addition to the various other specialized reactor repairs and other vessel modifications that are necessary for the conversion. But I'd say, if how we're positioning to adapt to those trends, or that trend specifically with biofuel, I'd say the work itself is right in our wheelhouse: large scale weld overlay, vessel modification, specialized repairs. I'd say what's further positioned us is just by virtue now that we have done more of this work than anyone else. So there are some challenges inherent to these projects, right? Specifically with hydrocracker reactors and different things. So we understand and can help support the site with probable challenges that they're going to see based on the equipment, the process that's been running through the years, how many years the equipment's been in service, and things like that.
I appreciate that, Kasey. Looking ahead, let's stay with the trends. I mean, what do you anticipate in the next few years? People that interview folks are so aggravating. We always want to just talk about the crystal ball. So what do you anticipate, or what do you think will emerge here in the next few years? And how do you believe that will impact BHI Energy and its strategy and its operations?
Yeah, so I'd say the other one, for basically all the construction sectors, everyone is seeing, no surprise, is just the declining number of skilled craftsmen in the country, yep. Right? So there's no slowing down major maintenance, at least a lot of the work we do in these refineries, right? And with ongoing environmental regulations to keep up with, particularly in places like where I'm in here in Southern California. We don't see any downturn in project work. So, that is, we see the workload continuing to maintain, if not increase. But what I can say is what BHI has done is, we've continued to grow our pool of skilled craft. And part of how we've done that is we've partnered with the Boilermakers. So we're actually bringing our own equipment. We work with the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers. We're doing training with Boilermakers and pipe fitters on automatic welding systems. So we're kind of growing the pool of folks that are familiar with that types of equipment through the Boilermakers themselves. And we've actually reached out to a series of trade schools. We've given presentations, visited job fairs, provided hands-on technical training to many of these students. So we're doing our part to grow our pool of skilled craftsmen. That way, when our customers reach out to us, they're confident that we have the quantity and the caliber of folks that are needed to be able to deliver safety and quality.
Kasey, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining, jumping on board with us today, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Hey, I really appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you.
Honestly, yeah. Look, we'll have you on another time as you guys kind of navigate the automated welding and the future of the way industry is done. You guys are a leader in that. Definitely want to have you on in the future.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, maybe my last comment would say we're just hopeful with new administration. We'll see an increase in greenfield and expansion projects, right? For all of us that are serving the domestic energy sectors, holy cow, fingers crossed, right?
That's right. So Kasey, thank you. And as always, for everyone who's watching, our audience that's consuming this content, we're so grateful for you. Hey, for more videos, podcasts, project intelligence, and industry news, visit bicmagazine.com. Remember, it's what we do together that counts.